Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Tess and I'm the VP of Engineering at Interchain GmbH here in Berlin. And I'm also a board member at the Mina Foundation. And I'm so excited to be here today with Danny and Andrew and Gareth for a discussion on community-built tooling. So these three, all just absolute pillars of the Mina community, and they've built some pretty sweet tools to help support growth and other people building in the ecosystem as well. And I'm just so excited that everyone here will be able to get to know them and their projects a little bit better today. And I think we'll also have time for a few questions at the end, but given the nature of this panel and who the four of us are, I'm only gonna pose or forward questions that are about community projects or other tooling. So just keep that in mind, as you populate the question list. Okay, cool. So to begin, I just want to go around and ask everyone to introduce themselves. And I'd love to hear specifically, first where you are in the world, because I know we have a very global audience today. And also how you got involved in Mina, what your path to the project has been. And then once everyone's introduced, we can talk about the projects themselves in a little bit more detail as well. So Gareth, you're the first person on my screen. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Hey everyone, I'm Gareth and I run MinaExplorer.com, which is the first blockchain explorer on Mina. For those of you on Discord, you might recognize me more like this. So
that's amazing.
I'm going to take it off in a second, don't worry. So I actually first heard about Mina, or I guess Coda as it was back then, kind of way back in 2017, when Isaac was presenting at zk-SNARKs, which is the first Zcash conference in Montreal. I was kind of immediately intrigued by the project. It seemed like way too good to be true and kind of magical in its approach. I mean, a blockchain with no history just doesn't make intuitive sense, right? So when the first testnets were launched, I was kind of raring to go and have been building and writing about the protocol since pretty much day one. So my Explorer has been pretty much through every testnet, and as a result, it's been pretty battle tested by this stage. I think it's just been an amazing and sometimes challenging journey, but it's been great to share it with everybody. And I'm just so excited about how the project has evolved, and I'm really keen to see what's going to be coming up soon. And hopefully we'll discuss some of that in our panel here. And now it's time to take this off. It's hot.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'd love to ask here later in the panel, about sort of what it's been like to really keep building tooling across many test nets and iterations of the project and protocol. But first, before we get into that, Danny, you're the next person on my screen. Do you want to go next?
Hey everyone, great to be at the summit. My name is Danny. I'm in charge of products at DSRV, leading platform development and figuring out what to build next as a blockchain infrastructure provider. I'm based in South Korea and it's 3 a.m. here now. For Mina, I encountered Mina at the Seoul Summit, happened about a year and a half before. I met Brandon and Claire from O1 Labs, thought that the project and the people were both fascinating. The idea of the small blockchain, the concept of SNARKs really intrigued my interest. I was a junior at business school back then, new to blockchain, but really thought that I should definitely find out more about what Mina was. I think as of Mina right now, I think it's really amazing, and I'm so excited to see the mainnet.
Fantastic. And finally, Andrew.
Hi, my name is Andrew Cronk, and I'm the Chief Product Officer at Figment. And similar to DSRV, Figment runs staking services. We also run a block explorer called Hubble, which is an open source block explorer we have on 10 networks, and also have a developer platform called Data Hub, where we let developers get access to full nodes and other services. I got introduced to, back at the time, Coda, now Mina, when we first started trying to figure out, if the blockchain disappears, what about all the historical data, and how can we preserve that? How can we make that searchable? And we started sort of working on this indexing problem, and have evolved that through the time that the projects come to mainnet. And I'll talk more about that later, but that's how I got into it.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Yeah, I'd love to hear more. Thank you for the personal introductions, and now I'd love to hear more about the projects. Maybe we'll go in reverse order, actually, to sort of mix things up. So Andrew, you were saying that you had something you wanted to share next. Do you want to just dive right into it?
Yeah. I will do a quick demo, just share my screen. So I'm going to walk through a couple things. which is first I'm going to show what the end product looks like, and then I'll show everything behind the scenes. So our strategy at Figment is let's open source stuff, and if people want to pay us to run it as a service, then that's something that we'll do for developers. So let me get that going. Great, so this is Data Hub today. There's a bunch of protocols you can run on, but we mostly want to talk about Mina today. So anyone can go on to datahub.figment.io and register and start using these Mina services that I'll show you. So up here, you'll just get a quick overview of any request you've made. Of course, this is just a demo account of mine, so there's no request. But maybe the important thing to show down here is which services you can run right off the bat. So if you want to start developing, you can do this right now. This is all live and open to you. So we make available DevNet and mainnet services. You can hit the main GraphQL API. We even have the Rosetta API and also this special thing called an indexer. So if you want to get going with Mina and just hit the GraphQL API, you can go ahead and do that. If you want
Not
to,
everyone will know what Rosetta is. Do you want to explain? Sorry, maybe you're about to explain that.
Sure, happy. Yes, thanks for that, Tess. So Rosetta is a project that originated from Coinbase, and it's a way to sort of abstract out a blockchain, so you can sort of write once and integrate with a number of blockchains. So if you want to, broadcast a transaction, they have a pretty standard interface to do that, or read data off the chain. And so if you want to do that, you can go to Rosetta-API.org. We're offering this as a service, so if anyone wants to do this for Mina, it's available right here. And so the way you use this is very simple. You just click on this little documentation link. You can have an API key. You can rotate your key. You can just make requests against it. And you have, this is my API key, but I'll trash this. I'll rotate this right afterwards. But you can make all sorts of requests as if you're running a full node for yourself. So that's sort of the first premise, is like you don't have to run a full node to start developing against Mina. But what I want to spend a little bit of time on is some of the stuff we've open sourced. So this indexer here, what is that? Well, the GraphQL API provides a lot, but one of the things about Mina is that the data sort of goes away. So this is a way to persist the data and go back and find it later. So if you go on our GitHub, Figment Networks, Mina Indexer, you'll see everything we've written. And this is a Golang project. Essentially, you can see all the APIs are now available to go back and find this historical stuff. You can look up accounts. You can do a pretty powerful block search and transaction search. Yeah, suffice to say that we've sort of layered on a historical record of all the transactions. And then we also did something that might be helpful if you are lower in the stack. We released a proxy server on top of the Mina archive service. So if you just want a proxy over the basic archive, that's available too. So again, our strategy is to write a bunch of open source software, and then if you want to access as a service, that's a paid service we offer. So again, this is Data Hub, and this is something for the Mina developers.
So with this indexer service is the idea that people can use the indexer service if they want historical data, but then they can still go back to the main Mina blockchain and verify all of the history there against the chain. Is that the idea?
Well, it really depends on your use case. The first apps we've seen building against Mina are more so about are mostly wallets. That's sort of the first thing out of the gate, and they basically want to say for this address, show me all the transactions for this account, right? And so it's less about verification, more it's about a full history. I would say that's how people are using it so far. And for that link that failed, I'll just put that in the chat. If you want to go see what this transaction search looks like and all the different parameters, I just dropped that link in there so you can see it. You can search by full text search on the memo field, start, end date, all that kind of stuff. So go wild.
Danny, you're up next.
Okay, so we have our Node service ready right here. Our Node service aims to help anyone become a node operator on Mina. So it is designed for anyone who wishes to run their own node with minimum cost and maximum efficiency. So we provide both the hardware and the software to launch, monitor, and manage a Mina node with simple and easy interface. The node will spin up in 5 minutes, no need for technical knowledge, and the node status will be managed in the node dashboard. You can also receive alerts via email and phone call if any error occurs or a major update becomes imminent. And we also have our Mina web extension ready for delegations and claiming rewards. By this web extension, we hope that people can easily switch delegations, claim rewards, keep track of how much they owe, even though claiming rewards will be only available initially if for only DSRV delegators. But we'll update through Discord channel when we're ready. Head over to app.dsrvlabs.com if you in search of a node service, and we'll give an update about the Mina web extension shortly.
That's super cool. It seems like maybe you're targeting like slightly different user groups with the extension and then also like the node as a service. Is that right? Do I understand that correctly?
Yeah, Andrew talked about builders and developers on Mina. Our service targets new users to Mina or any community members who have like technical hassles in onboarding, or whether they want to start up their own block producer node or a SNARKer node in the future to earn some Mina, or to make some delegations, or even in the future, I'll explain more, but make some. We're going to add some signer features to get access to snaps and other things as well. So it's basically for lowering the barriers for the blockchain infrastructure for Mina.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I feel like these are some of the most, foundational problems to keeping these, any proof of stake blockchain needs to make it really easy for people to sign up and, become block producers and be able to help secure the network in that way. But also like the tooling for people who want to stake is really, really important too, right? Like you want to make it both easy and like beneficial for people to be able to stake. That's again, just like so critical to the security of the system. So I think all of that is very, very cool.
Hey, is it okay if I jump in with a question for Danny?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Danny, so you're talking about the people who are token holders. When do you think someone should use your product versus just delegate somewhere else? Is there a certain token size? Is it based on how involved they want to be? What kind of person should use your product?
For the Genesis family members or the people who already participate in the Mina network, it's kind of hard to switch delegation because it takes for like 15 days or so to actually change this node account status. But I'm thinking about like newcomers to Mina through any kind of methods, whether through listing or any kind of other methods where they want to participate in Mina, they want to make delegations, but only the CLI options or sending some Google form to the foundation is the only method at the moment, as much as I know. So we think that this kind of graphical interface will definitely help users stake to the network, and I think that will be adding some value to newcomers to Mina community members, but not a typical token size or circular lineage apply, these kind of things, not exactly examine those kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think like having tooling that makes it really easy for people who aren't necessarily like you mentioned, super comfortable with the CLI, making it really easy for them to participate in the security of the network is really important and really valuable. I think especially for a project like Mina that does aim to be so decentralized and so powered by the participants and the people who are community members. That's really critical. So it's really cool to see you developing that kind of stuff. Some of the stuff around I guess both explorers but also staking and staking rewards. I think that segs really nicely, Gareth, into some of the stuff that you've been working on.
Yeah, so I'm not going to share my screen because I think most people have probably seen the Explorer and kind of what you can do there. What I wanted to touch a little bit on there was we've got a GraphQL API which provides all of the data. It's freely available, and it touches and complements kind of what Andrew was talking about at Figment. So as he mentioned there, kind of the GraphQL API on the node is actually limited to the last 290 blocks. So what we've done is actually made that persistent, so you can actually retrieve the full chain data via GraphQL. So it's kind of an alternative implementation of the archive node, which offers kind of a bit of redundancy to the official solution also, but it also stores kind of a higher level of granularity as we're essentially storing kind of GraphQL subscriptions. But it does make it possible, for example, to kind of determine individual SNARK work, whereas that isn't available on the archive node level, where it's more kind of condensed into a single fee transfer. So the idea of the project was kind of to keep as close as possible to the official GraphQL API offered by the node, but instead of being kind of limited by that 290 blocks, to actually return them all. While the official archive node is now much better tested and it's working fine, it's still quite an overhead for a developer kind of new to the project to get up and running. We're up to, just looking at my screen, it's about 4,000 blocks now. So any new developer jumping into the project right now needs a way to bootstrap that archive node or go to a third-party provider like Figment. But kind of having a simple API with the same interface, yet the full chain history available, I think it's quite a compelling offering.
Gareth, you mentioned that like you had put, the Mina Explorer on all of the test nets, and it's really kind of been with the project all the way along. Can you speak a little bit to how like the project has evolved and maybe some of the differences in like developing against different versions of the project?
Yeah, for sure. I think the obvious difference is the lack of chain history. That's kind of unique to Mina and presents a lot of challenges. Obviously, you don't have to wait 2 weeks to sync a node, which is kind of a nice feature that's available. But knowing that you've screwed up and you can't get the data back is kind of the other side of that coin. Since the very early days, we were kind of measuring uptime in kind of minutes as opposed to days or weeks as it is now. So kind of trying to offer a service when stability wasn't there was definitely a challenge. But I think as well, the lack of history kind of forces unique solutions to be found because, like Figment have discovered, like this, people want the past chain history. So we need a way we need tooling developed in order to enable that. So I think as a result, we've kind of already seen numerous implementations of how to actually extract that chain history.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I mean, it's so interesting that this thing that is both one of Mina's great strengths, right, and one of its big competitive advantages is also something that can be a challenge depending on where you're coming from and what you're trying to do. And this feels very, very blockchain to me. And maybe that's going to sound like a truism, but like there are so many things in working with blockchains that are also like the strengths, but also like the big challenge. And to me, like the big one that comes to mind is immutability. And how like, the immutability of both like block history and also like the sort of difficulty in like changing a protocol, that's like the power of blockchains right there. At the same time, it can make it very difficult to develop apps against them because like, if you want to redact something, you really can't, for example. And so it is this like paradigm, building against blockchains is a paradigm shift from building a centralized application. And I wonder if, there's going to be some probably more subtle ways in which building against Mina is a bit of a paradigm shift from developing against other blockchain projects. Andrew, I know that Figment, works with many other blockchain networks. Is there anything that you've noticed about building with Mina that has either been like maybe particularly challenging or particularly good? Or maybe not a value judgment, but just like a difference between working with Mina and working with other projects.
Yeah, well, I think for this one, I definitely need to give credit to Gareth for coming up with the first version of the payouts or payments script. Just because we, at Figment, we are around, I think, over 40 networks now, and there's two that we, as a validator or block producer, we have to do our own payouts. I mean, people delegate to us, and then we receive all the rewards, and then we have to sort of figure out who gets what. And we do that in Tezos, and now we do that in Mina, and we've sort of taken and adapted and contributed to what Gareth is doing. So definitely give the credit to Gareth there for getting going there, because it would have been very, very hard for us to do on our own. But that's a big difference for us.
Sweet. Could one of you maybe just like explain what the payout script does, or how this is different from many other proof of stake networks?
I can jump in there if you want.
Fantastic.
So kind of topping up what Andrew says there, kind of in Mina, the payments are handled off-chain. So it's more akin to, most people are more familiar with the Tezos style approach to payout. So any pool operators kind of have to calculate those payments themselves before actually sending. There's some kind of additional niggles in Mina where those stakers that also receive, say, a foundation delegation or O1 Labs delegation, they actually have their own distinct rules for payouts. And then there's also this thing known as supercharge rewards, which are kind of additional Coinbase rewards for those tokens that are unlocked or unvested. So it's kind of not a trivial solution. So kind of as a result, there are now a couple of scripts actually. Mine was more of a proof of concept implementation, kind of a brain dump at the time. It uses my GraphQL API data source, so there's kind of no dependencies. But a big shout out here to Jonathan Washburn, who is JR Washburn on Discord, who's actually taken this to kind of a whole new level. So his script, it'll actually determine the payouts as well as crafting and broadcasting the signed transactions. And even if you provided a GraphQL endpoint, it'll even send it for you as well. So what we're hoping there is that as well as my GraphQL API data sources, there will be Figment's data source in there as well. So that even if you don't have an archive node, which it currently depends on, soon you'll be able to kind of have all of this staking payout done for you without any dependencies, kind of thing. So that's basically what that is and what it does.
I love hearing all these like shout outs to other folks in the ecosystem. I do get a sense that this is a very, very collaborative community, and that's one of the things that I really love to see.
Yeah, and I think one other sort of secondary effect of this is that we'll have to create a third-party system for tracking sort of who the best performing block producers are from a payout perspective. Are they paying out on time? Are they paying out correctly? Tezos has this emerged as well with something called Baking Pad. And I don't know if Danny, if that's something that you think you might incorporate in your platform or not, which is just sort of performance of the block producers, but that'd be great.
We're definitely considering that factor. Thanks to Gareth and JR Washburn. We have the payout scripts ready, and we have the data source ready from Figment and Gareth as well. We're thinking of tracking all of these kind of rewards that your delegators ought to earn. And we're also trying to help with cooperate with StakeTap, who had the validator dashboard. And we're also open to collaborating with many others from the community to like keep track and get the rightful reward they earn, whether the validators are actually paying out the rewards correctly and on time. We have a lot of things more to do, but we're definitely going to integrate that into our staking web extension, which will be opening up shortly.
This question sort of this idea for like a tool that would be really useful at some point, and maybe DSRV will be the first ones out of the gate with it. That reminds me of another question that I wanted to ask you all, which is like, what other tools are you hoping to see in the get built for the ecosystem? Like what's on your wish lists?
I thought about several things, but listening to Andrew's from Figment, we have the SnapNets, we have the Data Hub and Hubble, we have the Explorer from Gareth. I think that covers a lot of features at the moment. And what I'm trying to cover at DSRV is the web extensions part. I hope to get designers inside it, and I hope to see a lot more ecosystem of snaps growing much more bigger. And I even think of things such as like NFTs integrated. I hope to see a lot of NFT ecosystem or Snap ecosystem growing a lot more bigger. I think a more development environment or data source or these kind of things should be added on. And I hope to see them in near future based on what Andrew and Gareth has to say right here.
So someone's taking notes.
One area I would like to see a lot more work in is kind of the SNARKetplace. I know Brandon touched on it before. It's kind of the marketplace where Snark work is bought by the block producers. From kind of on Discord and everything, it's still a little opaque. Most people don't really understand how it works. The data is really kind of only available via dumping the Snark pool from the CLI, and it's like I say, it's not really well understood. People are always wondering why doesn't my Snark get bought or whatever. So currently I have some really simple charts on the Explorer, but there is so much more that could be done there, kind of providing additional visualizations, kind of seeing which Snarks are going to be bought next, what's the cheapest price, etc. I think having that will just add a lot of clarity to the people and help them price their Snark work, and also just really explain how it actually works. So I'd like to see some more work in that direction.
Really interesting too, because there's, that's another thing that's kind of a little bit unique to Mina, right? This whole idea of the SNARKetplace is not something where it's been built before, for another project, as far as I know. I would be pretty shocked if it had been. And so that's a very cool place, I think, where, for someone to innovate and really invent something new. So that's very cool. Andrew, I know that you mentioned sort of like the block producer performance ranking as one piece of tooling that you'd like to see, but was there anything else that you have on your wish list?
Yeah, this is maybe down in the plumbing, down in sort of lower levels, but one of the challenges we face is making sure we don't miss a block, since we're trying to persist all the blocks forever. And so this is probably more for infrastructure providers or block producers, the people that want all the blocks, but just a better way to either make up missed blocks or have a service to sort of restore or something like that. Like we patched something together internally, but I think it'd be much stronger if it was a community effort or something to that regard, because we can only run so many servers and make sure we're up all the time and that kind of stuff. And so it's clear that the strength of Mina is also creating some of these challenges around the archive and the full history. And so I'd like to just see more sort of off-chain or collaboration around that. And of course, we want to be a part of that because we want to preserve all the history. So that's one thing I'd like to see.
Very, very cool. Okay, so I know we've sort of talked about like, your projects and also then like what else you want to see in the ecosystem. So that kind of, I think, naturally leads into like the next question, which is what features are you planning on building next, or products are you planning on building next, for your own projects and companies? Let's see, who should, maybe Danny, do you want to start?
Yeah, I think I kind of mentioned all of the things in the previous question.
Okay.
But definitely, we're gonna add more features to the Node platform, because we do think that as Andrew mentioned, I definitely agree. As a block producer, you need to take a look at some crucial things on the network and off the network, and about the tokens about the network stats, about the hardware and everything. We definitely need to build that up to the next level. And also for the web extension that we're building on, the primary purpose of DSRV's blockchain infrastructure is to enhance the user experience and lower the barrier for the blockchain network. To get these two goals achieved, I think there are a lot of more things to do, definitely in terms of user experience side and definitely in terms of the tech side. But we're just starting now. We hope to grow more and add more features, get many user feedbacks as we move on. Hope we can do it as Mina grows, because my whole blockchain experience started with Mina. I hope that this product can get evolved as Mina itself evolves as well.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to like grow along with the project, right?
It's definitely a unique experience, because about a year and a half ago, I just really knew nothing about blockchain, because Mina, I encountered Mina even before I encountered Bitcoin or Ethereum. I just really knew nothing about blockchain or any cryptocurrency. So it's just really special and emotional for me to watch the Mina network grow, and I actually become a part of the network to contribute something meaningful. So I think it's really special.
Yeah, that's amazing. Cool. I mean, Gareth, what's next on the roadmap for you?
Primarily keeping things running, making sure things don't fall over is my primary concern. Obviously, the staking stuff is taking up a lot of time. Maybe one thing I can mention that I'd like to do kind of in the very short term is some work around the unlock supply, because while on the Explorer we kind of display timing information, it's actually quite hard to infer from there what is locked and like what is not, what is actually movable. From all the accounts and all the different vesting schedules. So kind of making that more clear to users, the total kind of unlock supply would be a nice feature to add, which is kind of a little short-term goal for me.
Pretty neat. And finally, Andrew, what's next on the roadmap for Figment and Mina?
Yeah, so Gareth mentioned this concept of the snarketplace. And so maybe this is more of a curiosity for me or experiment, but how that's going to play out. How will people, sort of purchase these things? Is it purely cost? What more to it? Because if you look at the history of validators or block producers, like people don't just go for the lowest cost option. And so is this going to be a pure commodity market? Will there be branding to it? Will there be different dimensions that people can market themselves on? Or is this going to be just like raw numbers and purely algorithmic? And so what we're going to be doing is trying to create a little way for people who want to be in this marketplace to actually differentiate, to say something about themselves, to try to be more than just a number. That might not happen. That's one of the big experiments, I think, is how does this marketplace play out? How do people, sort of pick who's going to do that work for them? So we're going to spend sort of shift now that we've sort of got the basic staking dashboard up and the basic block producer stats up, kind of shift over to that.
Sweet. That sounds very interesting. And Figment is also working on some stuff to enable snap building. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So what you'll see, we'll do an announcement a little bit later, but there's a lot of excitement around snaps, and to that end, inside of Data Hub, you'll be able to access a version of the Mina protocol with some of the snap stuff enabled. Essentially, what that's going to look like for the developers out there is a set of new endpoints in the GraphQL API. And so we're testing that with some folks right now, and that's something that we want to make available to the broader community very soon. But the goal right now is really let's get to mainnet. Let's sort of iterate quickly and make sure everything is stable. But in parallel, let's try to do more than one thing at a time, and let's really bring on the next wave of app developers. And so look for an announcement from Figment and from Mina about this sort of nicknamed the SnapNet, but just a way for you to start building apps without having to run nodes.
That's going to be so cool. Cool. Okay, so we have about 10 minutes left. I'm going to ask everyone like a final question, and then we'll go into community questions. So my final question for everyone is, what do you hope to see in the community over the next year? What are your hopes for the Mina community? Gareth, do you want to start?
For sure. I think mine's going to be a cheesy answer, but more of the same.
I love cheesy answers.
This has always been kind of a respectful and amazing community to be a part of, and that's a credit to everyone involved in the project. So more of that, please. But I think I'm looking forward to building some exciting applications and actually useful applications atop the protocol. So I think bring on the snaps, I think, is what we need.
Nice. And Danny?
I think mine would be a slightly longer one than Gareth, because the best part, the best experience of building a node platform was the community for sure. Because the basic question I had was like, what kind of problems did the Mina community members facing at the moment for running a node or anything? And I was kind of sure that they would have a similar hardship with what I experienced as well. But I've just loved the community asking so much questions, and so much active community members and dedicated community members such as Gareth trying to solve the problems others are facing. So it was such a great experience to add on the features and build blocks necessary to the node service we're building based on the experience of the community members. And it was like something like growing with the Mina community in my perspective. So I truly wish to grow the Mina community members to grow even more as the mainnet progresses. And I also thank for the support and interest for the node platform. There were so many beta users who participated. And if you want to get updates, get signed up in our platform. I'm so excited to see the mainnet, and congratulations for everyone.
Two very good answers. Andrew, what do you want to see from the community?
Yes, so definitely in line with what Gareth and Danny are saying, but with a slightly different approach. So another big initiative that we have at Figment is called Figment Learn. And so if you've ever heard of something like Coinbase Earn, it's like that, but for developers. And so Figment Learn allows you to step through a series of tutorials, and everything from connect to a node, broadcast a transaction, and then we can actually verify that you're doing the actual code correctly within Data Hub because you're sending transactions through it. So we've run a Figment Learn campaign for a number of different projects, and we definitely want to do one for Mina in the future. So to help sort of open up the community of developers who can build snaps, who know things about blockchain, we want to do more with Figment Learn and Mina. And so I would say that's something we'll probably do in the second half of the year if we hopefully we can figure something out. But yeah, Gareth got it exactly right. Bring on the applications, more snaps, and then our little angle on that, or where we want to help, is try to educate more people about how to even write their first line against the Mina blockchain.
Love that. I mean, I feel like with so many of these projects, there's a real emphasis on getting the technology and getting that right, which is really important. That's very foundational, but that's like necessary but insufficient, I think, to have a flourishing blockchain ecosystem. And like the next step up on this like hierarchy of needs. I'm kind of making this up as I go. There's I don't have a full diagram ready to show you or anything like that. But I do think kind of the next step up from that is, actually having a community of developers who really know that technology well and can use it in really effective ways. And so I'm so excited to hear about that. That sounds like an amazing initiative.
I do think I have to give. I do think I have to give credit to the Figment because when I was in the University Blockchain Club and helping others, there are so many University Blockchain Clubs in here, South Korea. We got so many help from the Figment Learn and the resources from the Figment, like the first looks and the deep dives.
Yeah.
So I just love what you're doing, and I hope the same thing comes out for Mina as well.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Like we have proof of it right here, like a real live example. That's awesome. Okay, cool. I'm going to take a peek at these questions from the community.
Yeah, Danny, I answered one. Sorry, go ahead, Tess.
Oh, I was just going to say, there's one that says, Gareth, Andrew, do you consider the possibility to fund the use of Mina Explorer and Data Hub beyond free tier with Mina tokens?
Yeah, I took that as, can you pay for Data Hub with tokens? And the answer is yes. But right now, we only accept stablecoins. And so when I answered the question there, I wanted to say, like, if that's an opportunity to go make the first stablecoin on Mina, then you can pay for Data Hub with it. Otherwise, swipe your credit card.
Cool. So the answer is yes, but you're going to have to do a little legwork first. That's what you're saying.
Just some background. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then I think you were saying that you maybe answered one for Danny also.
Yeah, there's a question, Danny, for you about pricing, how pricing works for your product. And so I just linked to the pricing configurator page with the range. But I don't know if you want to, is there anything more you want to say about that?
Excellent. I can't really imagine how you answer to all these questions and reply to chats while speaking. I'm like so focused to this panel discussions. I'm kind of nervous as well. But yes, as Andrew mentioned, head up to our platform site and check the pricing things. But we're definitely trying to diversify the pricing range and the node environment. We're adding on more cloud service providers. We're adding more regions. We're trying to we're testing a lot of stable environments at the moment. We're trying to provide a much more cheaper and affordable environment for node operators, especially for block producers. So yeah, sign up to our platform and you'll get updates through email. My primary goal is to make this node operation thing as much as easy, as much as convenient, and as much as affordable as possible. That's what I learned as a lesson when I first encountered Mina as a blockchain. So yeah, you can check for updates in the Discord and the email for sure.
I see there's sort of a follow-up question for you, Danny. What is the general ROI of running a node via DSRV? I don't know if you have these numbers, but.
Yeah, because we can't really have these numbers because we don't know exactly the price of the Mina tokens at the moment. But you can check the inflation rate at the general inflation rate of Mina. And we're not sure at the moment how these ROIs will go at the moment, but we're trying to make this as affordable as possible. We'll just have to wait and see how these things are all progressed.
We have time for, I think, one more question, which is directed at Gareth. And it is, Gareth, how much would you sell your hat for?
In Mina, I don't know. It's getting another one is the problem, because I got this about 10 years ago in Iceland. So if anybody maybe is in Iceland and get me a replica, I'll consider it.
NFT for now. Cool. Well, actually, we have time. We have time for one more question. I thought that was going to be a good one to end on. Maybe the question I'll just pose to all of you is, like, if people want to follow you on Twitter or find you on Discord, like, what's the right way to do that?
My Discord is Danny at DSRV. You can follow Danny Jr. at 95 on Twitter, or you can just DM me on Discord, or you can access me on the Node Dashboard channel on mainnet on Mina Discord. That's how you can find me.
So I'm Gareth T. Davis on Discord. I'm very active on there. And obviously my project is minaexplorer.com, but I'm always on Discord. So
great. And you can find Figment on Twitter. It's Figment_IO. And my personal is AJ Cronk, AJCRONK. And if you want to ask questions of other Mina developers about DataHub, we have a little Discord. I just dropped a link in there. That's for the DataHub Discord. And so you'll find a group of people asking, how do I use this? How do I use that with DataHub? So if you have any questions, feel free. It's a developer community. So drop in and we're always there to chat.
And if anyone wants to find me on Twitter, I'm at _Tessr or just Tessr on the Discord. Less competition from other Tessrs on Discord. I didn't have to use underscore. Cool. I think we're right at time. Thank you so much. This has been really fun.